What's good, everybody, and welcome to an episode of the I'm Telling TIS podcast with your host, yours surely, Jai Shields. And boy, do we have an exciting show for you today. Obviously, summertime. We got T-minus less than a month until week one of the 2024 NFL season. You know, once football season arrives, your boy will be plenty busy well into the fall and exiting out into the wintertime at the beginning of the new year come January. So we decided to do a little bit of a different style, different bit of a format for this week's show and bring on a guest that we have not had on the show in a very, very long time, 4 years specifically to be exact. He is YouTuber extraordinaire. You know him. You've seen him go viral, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. As soon as you hear his voice, or even if his octave level raises a few notches, you'll recognize his voice. He is none other than the great Professor, aka he's got one of the coolest names I've ever heard in my life, Keenan fucking Kowalski. What's going on, my brother? Good to have you on.
Yeah, good to see you again, Jai. It's been a while. 4 years,
Yes,
yeah. How things have changed in 4 years too.
a lot has changed. Last time I
Yeah.
spoke to you, I was about a week or so. You can go back and check the archives. About a week or so, if not a little more than that. Done graduated high school, and now I'm almost done. I'm entering my final year in college. Lots has changed. We somehow survived through a pandemic, but nice to have you on, pal. What's going on?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me, man. It's good to be back.
Of course, of course. Let's get right into it with you. Since, again, like we said, long 4 years. What's going on with you? How's life? How's life treating you? Where do you live? Where? What's going on? You live in the Maldives, San Tropez, downtown Detroit, Tampa. You live in Giselle's old house. What's going on with life with you in terms of how's life in 2024 with yours truly?
Life is great. I'm happy to be back in Michigan right now, my home state. With my home teams here in Michigan, but I still do have my place in Tampa too. Not Brady's ex's place or anything. Isn't hers in Miami, or is hers the one in Tampa?
Well, they both used to have a place in Tampa, and now they live in Miami. Like it's like that scene. It's like Great Gatsby, where all you gotta do is just cross a bridge, and you're scorned former lovers sitting right there across the bay. But yes,
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, no, I unfortunately I don't have their old house yet. Hopefully one day, but not yet. But things are great, man. I'm very happy. It's a beautiful summer up here in Michigan. Nowhere else I'd rather be in the summer, and then in the winter go to Florida, and that's the place to be in the winter. So I'm uh, I'm
absolutely.
a, I'm living like I'm 70 some years old and retired when I'm 29. I'm almost 30 now, man. That's scary.
That's crazy. Ain't that
Yeah.
something? What 4 years ago? What were you? What 25 years old?
Yeah,
Now I'm 3
exactly.
years away from turning 25. Oh
Yeah,
my God.
yeah.
So
Fuck.
let's get right into it. The growth of your channel in the last 4 years. Obviously, 4 years ago, pandemic. There was live sports going on around the time that we talked. Just starting, live sports to resume. With golf, the NBA and NHL bubble, baseball, football really kind of sort of didn't have a training camp. What has changed? Obviously, you've had the growth in streaming services. We've gotten used to life post COVID, this, that, and the third. And have you noticed any differences in viewership in terms of, excuse me, the videos on your channel specifically, social media engagements? What has changed between August 2024 versus August of 2020?
Uh, I would say it is noticeable that, especially in the live streaming. Granted, I haven't live streamed on Twitch in 2 months now because I'm, I don't know, I'm being lazy this summer on that. But that I would say is the most noticeable difference. It seemed that during those pandemic times, those peak pandemic times, people were watching live content like no other, and live content's still fairly strong, but it's not as strong as it was during the pandemic. As far as videos go, I, it's it's not that much different. I notice my channel tends to go in a bit of a roller coaster, up and down. the highs are never too high, the lows are never too low. In the beginning, when my channel was first blowing up at the end of 2019 and 2020, those are a bit stronger years, but my channel was also very new to blowing up. You find with YouTube that you have those spikes where it blows up and then you can kind of hold on, and you got to hope to hit another spike at some point. I haven't hit it yet. I don't think. It's just kind of been a slow and gradual raise. I don't gain that many subscribers a day anymore, but it's always going up, and that's, I think, a good thing. And with time, I think I might be able to hit some other things on the head. There's some new games coming out that I think will help my channel. Hard Time 3 is coming out. McDickey is actually making a new Hard Time game, which people came to like my Hard Time content. And Nintendo has luckily came out with Nintendo Switch Sports since the last time we talked, which we thought would be another Wii Sports, but it was not nearly as good. So that game kind of didn't do much for me either. But I'm holding in there. I can't complain. And I'm uploading every other day is kind of my goal, but I think I might go to every day to see what happens, see if I can really kick my channel into overdrive again.
And is that the the adjustment that you have had to make as a result? Is that, uploading every day instead of every other day, trying to see if you can maybe not 100% catch that lightning in the bottom of your head 4 years ago, but at least get maybe a third, if not a half of that? Is that the adjustment that you made?
Exactly. In uploading every day, I find that every other day uploads, I really have to focus on my bread and butter games. We sports, we party you, we club, we sports club, Mario parties, Mario Kart, that kind of stuff. Whereas if I upload every day, I can throw some more darts out there of some random games
Mhm.
just to see what happens, because sometimes those videos can pop off. And I'd like to be known more as a variety content YouTuber than the guy that plays Wii. But that's when people see my name in another Twitch chat or anything like that, it's always going to be, hey, you're that Wii guy, you're the Wii guy. But and that's fine. It's always going to kind of be my backbone, I think. But I would like to throw more videos out there on some new games that are out. Or I honestly, I've been contemplating NCAA football 25. Wait, it's
Do
25,
it.
right?
Yes, it's
Yeah,
25. Do
25.
it. Do it.
Yeah,
Do it
I know. I see
now.
it's popping off. Yeah.
So and we'll get to that as we get deeper into the thing. How do and my mother tells me this all the time. She says, with celebrities, she says, Jai, when celebrities reach fame, particularly early in their life, whether they be child actors on television or in their 20s, and they have a big boom where they're a household name, you can't escape them, and then magically, snap of a finger, it's harder to find them, it's harder to hear from them anymore. As she says that they have a tendency to either do things, say things, participate in things that is beneath them, but they do it anyway because they need and they still need to feed that part of their brain that needs the attention, that needs the love, that needs to be talked with, that needs to be relevant. Have you felt that itch at some point of circumstance, even as a YouTuber? And how, knowing that, everybody, we've now like gotten to the point where we've been removed a little bit since the pandemic, where people, you talk about it, you look back on it, it kind of low-key feels like ancient history, you know what I mean? Like people, whether it's people resurrecting their old favorite shows and binge watching them, the videos that you uploaded during that 18-month period, which did numbers. Like I even saw a post just the other day about reflecting on the 2020 NFL season when there was no fans. The Steelers 11-0, they collapsed. The Buccaneers won the Super Bowl. This, that, and third. Have you experienced any of that whatsoever, ever, in terms of like the itch to kind of feel as relevant as you were 4 years ago, especially post the pandemic?
Uh, n- I- Yes and no. I know one of the thing you said, do things beneath that. You mean kind of cause controversy, I guess, to get
Well,
like a
not well,
start,
not
or
well, not you specifically, but celebrities in the past. And I want to go through and name names, but you'll see like for instance, I saw like Jamie Lynn Spears, Zoe 101. She was on that show, America's that Fox show. What is it? Like America's Toughest Challenge, where they jump out of planes and basically go through army boot camp type stuff. You can look up, like things like that. But she's on television and people are talking about her. So like in reference to you, do you kind of like feel that situation? It's like, damn, it's been a long time since 2020 where, you couldn't escape me on the internet. And now time has passed a little bit and people onto whatever they're onto. Do
right?
you feel that sense of
Yeah.
self-imposed pressure on yourself that you got to stay within the topic of conversation on YouTube?
Uh, I, I guess a little bit. It's more so. Yeah, there's a lot of, especially in the streaming game right now. There's ultra popular streamers right now, like Kai Sinai, Queso, Jinxie, Aiden Ross. These guys have blown up out of I don't know where, but they have blown up. And obviously at one point that was me blowing up, but I never blew up to that level. But still, it makes me reminisce of those days. But as far as doing anything out of my realm, stepping into some other things, as I said earlier, uploading every day and throwing some darts at different variety content to see if I can kind of get a more blow up on that kind of stuff, on some new games and stuff like that would be the farthest I go. I don't really feel the need to do anything too out of my realm. I'm comfortable with still where my, I guess, viewership is, and I'm pretty good with not dwelling on numbers. There was a time that I'd look at my YouTube studio every couple hours to see how many views I'm getting an hour and stuff like that. I don't anymore. I don't think that that's healthy for me. And I think that if I tried too hard to get views, it would only make my content come off as inauthentic and only further hurt my channel. So I try to keep pretty level headed in it, and just kind of stay the course, still be myself, but try some different games, some different for content, but still be me. The one thing I have noticed though with myself, I don't know if it's just I've been doing this for how many years now? 5 since 2019. I've been doing kind of this Wii content stuff. It does seem like I need to keep it fresh. I can't do Wii Sports all the time. I need to throw other things in there.
I got you because it's Shannon Sharp. I don't know if you've heard of him. He says all the time we're talking about Patrick Mahomes. He says because Mahomes has reached a level of greatness so early in his career. Instead of him competing against his peers in the league, he's competing against himself. So how you phrase that. You're not competing necessarily against the other YouTubers in your game. You're competing against the numbers that you put up 3, 4, 5 years ago, which
Right.
I found to be very interesting. A few years ago, this was funny, and you, like me, when we discussed this last time we had you on 4 years ago, we have a bit of a temper, and there was a video that came across my feed. I want to say it was 3 years ago in 2021, and it was you. It was you recording the AT&T commercial. It was a commercial where it was like a March Madness themed commercial. It was still airing in the spring because of the NBA playoffs, and it was Lily from AT&T drawing up plays or whatever. And she, instead of having like a dry erase marker, she had a permanent marker. And the punchline was like, "Well, why did you use a permanent marker?" And you went completely ballistic to the point. I was like, "This guy is going to have a stroke." Reacting to a simple AT&T commercial. Like I know that like there's some bad, unfunny, cringeworthy commercials on television, but good lord, this guy is going to have a heart attack, and he's like 26 years old. What in the world sparked you to have such an adversarial reaction to that commercial? And then more importantly, what said to yourself, I'm gonna record this and upload it onto Twitter and see what the reactions are. And I think she responded to it on TikTok as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, you did. But first and foremost, I'm a sports watcher just like you, and that commercial was being played so much, and I was getting so sick of it. Every time it came on, when I wasn't recording, I was like, flip this commercial. I am so sick of it. So I decided it came on again. I think it was during the NHL playoffs in the bubble year there. It would come on NHL playoffs too, NBA playoffs, everything. It was on everything. And I was so sick of it that I decided to pull out my phone the second I saw that commercial come on, just because I was so sick of that cringe joke in it. And they're selling AT&T. Oh, I just hated it. But yeah, then she replied to it on TikTok. And she was like, I don't know what I did to hurt you, or I didn't realize this would hurt you so much, but I am sorry. Something like that.
It was hilarious. Oh my god. Oh boy.
Luckily, no commercials have made me feel that way lately. Granted, I mean, we're at the dead season of all sports right now, except baseball,
Right.
which I'm not gonna lie, baseball is like my last sport.
Right.
So I don't really watch it much. I'll pay attention to some scores. I follow the Tigers on Twitter, so I see how terribly they're doing, and that's about it.
Funny. Well, speaking of sports, and I know you said you wanted to delve into possibly college football 25. Can you please, for all of you, because you got a decent amount of diehard sports fans that are subscribed to you that are fans of yours. Can we please get college football 25? And furthermore, any chance you broke it out about a few years ago, and I would like it for it to return. That's MLB 2K on the Wii, and the old Madden games from about a decade plus ago on the Wii. Is there any chance we can get all three, two out of the three, one out of those three games out of you, especially with we're a month or so away from playoff baseball, and obviously the football season is breathing down our necks.
Maybe. So but I recorded this one before. There is NCAA football 09 on the Wii that I recorded in the past. I didn't end up uploading it, but I might go for it again. But as far as what's the best MLB game for the Wii? I played 2K12, I believe, on the Wii before.
That was the last one. That was the last one.
What is that the best one? What would you say is the best one? What year? Do you know, or should I do some research?
Best one, I'd probably say, I mean, they all kind of were sort of standard, that whole copy paste. The only different, the thing that got in trouble with 2K a lot and why they don't make MLB games anymore is that they basically stopped trying. All it was essentially was just an updated version of the same game, just with different rosters, updated stats, and a new soundtrack. So they all relatively were the same because they stopped making it. And 2K stopped making a baseball game altogether. And then from, I want to say, the 2014 to 2021, I believe, it was only MLB The Show, and the only way you could play it is if you had a PlayStation. And now, since I believe it was 2022, I think was the first year that they had it available for Xbox and Nintendo Switch and all that. So they have MLB. You can look it up. MLB The Show 24 on Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and obviously the PlayStation console is where it's been since its inception. But 2K13 is the latest baseball video game available on the Wii. MLB licensed baseball.
Okay. Yeah, I think I will dabble more in the sports games, probably all of them. And I might go for the newer ones over the older ones, actually, because yeah, if I played MLB 2K12 on the Wii so long ago, all the other Wii ones are probably going to be similar. Some of the Wii ones though have weird like extra games that actually do make them better. Like the NHL games, that one NHL game had the feature where you could play as your Mii.
Right.
But no other NHL game had that. I always like games that you can still play as your Mii as like a priority to get on my channel, because using Beat Boss just makes everything better. Not only from a fun standpoint, but also video viewership standpoint. It's became kind of a image of the brand, so to say. He's my
Right.
guy,
Your
and
trademark.
anytime,
He's the
yeah, exactly. If people see it on the thumbnail, I think it inclines them to click more.
absolutely, absolutely. What are your obviously you said you bounce back and forth between Tampa and Detroit. What was it like during when because obviously a lot of us were stuck in the area and we couldn't do a whole hell of a lot of travel. What was it like in the Tampa area? And I since we last had you on the training camp prior to what ended up being the Super Bowl season, what was it like living in that Tampa area while Tom Brady was playing for the Buccaneers? What was it like in the city when they hosted the Super Bowl? February, a COVID Super Bowl, nothing, one of the weirdest Super Bowls, and the most um anticlimactic, I guess, because there wasn't people flocking to the city and the game wasn't bad. And also, what was the city like after the Bucks ended up winning the Super Bowl? What was Tampa Bay like in 2020?
Uh, Tampa is a really good sports city right now because, well, at least then it was. I mean, you had the Tampa Bay Lightning that were killing it. They didn't. The Super Bowl was in February of 20 or
February
February
Feb,
1.
February 7th, 2021.
2021. Yeah, that's right. So Tampa Bay Lightning had just won the Stanley Cup that summer, and then the Bucks won the Super Bowl. It was a very passionate city. It still is to an extent, just because that's still recent in a way. The city was pretty electric with the passionate Bucks fans, Lightning fans. There's a lot of pride in that city about their sports teams ever since then too. And as you know, hockey's my sport. Not to change a football question into a hockey question, but
No, you're fine.
the passion for a uh, out of market, so to say, hockey team in that city is especially overwhelming. People love the Tampa Bay Lightning and they love the Bucks. The Rays, unfortunately,
Yeah,
are
no,
no, that dang
nobody
stadium in
cares.
St. Petersburg is so bad from what I hear. I know they're going to renovate it, but still, baseball, I guess hockey can survive in a hot area because you need indoor no matter what to
Right,
play hockey. But baseball, especially with the time of year the season is, it's such a much better sport outside, or at least a
right.
retractable roof, something
Hmm.
like that. I think that adds to the experience. I went to many Tigers games, but I've never been to a Rays game just because you got to go sit in that dull ass dome. I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to not
No,
swear.
you can. No, you can. You can. We've matured as a show. You can.
Okay.
Anything you can let it fly. We've matured as a show in the last 4 years. You can
Okay.
go ahead.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, but sorry, I'm getting sidetracked. Overall, yeah, very passionate city for the Bucks and the Lightning, especially. And now, Baker still managed to get them to the playoffs, granted in a very weak division, but they beat the Cowboys, right? First round in
Hmm.
the
No,
playoffs.
they beat the Eagles on a Monday
Eagles.
night
Yeah,
game. They beat the
yeah,
Eagles.
you're right. Sorry. I
Dallas
knew it
lost
was
to
one
Green Bay.
team. It was one of the teams that had high expectations that
Yes.
bounced first round to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which, maybe I still don't see them as that strong of a team, but good for them. And people are still following them just as hard, I think.
I think, yeah, and I think the issue with the Rays is that first of all, isn't from what I heard, isn't like St. Petersburg like a older demographic in terms of the age range. It's a little bit because Tampa Bay is one of the more vibrant, younger uprising cities, not just within Florida, within the country. And then St. Petersburg is kind of like, the retirement community of Tampa. So it's just like it's just very dull, low key, relaxed, and boring. Plus, it's not. It's a little bit of a hike from Tampa, is it not?
Yeah, you have Tampa Bay in between St. Petersburg and Tampa. It's like they're on other sides of a massive body of water, essentially, that you got to take a huge bridge across. It's weird how that is with the Buck Stadium and Lightning Stadium aren't too far away from each other in Tampa there, and it's in a business district where people are working their everyday jobs. They can have a lot of people probably from offices going to games after work. Obviously, football's on Sunday, but for at least the Tampa Bay Lightning there, yeah, you're right. It's a permanent. Tampa is more of a permanent resident city. St. Petersburg is more of a temporary resident city. St. Petersburg downtown is getting built up. It's getting pretty nice. It wasn't always. It was kind of like the forgotten of the cities in the Tampa Bay, I think. But downtown St. Petersburg's gotten very nice, but it's all very upscale condos for people that just want to be there in the winter. That's it. It's not much of the everyday people that live there and work there people.
Mhm. And how ironic is this? My baseball team, the Baltimore Orioles, they're in St. Petersburg playing the Rays. They have played them over the weekend. They have a game at the time of this recording this afternoon on Sunday. And the building is like 70% Orioles fans. So it's just, and the problem with that stadium and where it is that you don't know this, but the New York Yankees, right? Their spring training home. Their spring training home. Their out of New York facility is in downtown Tampa, a hop, skip, and a jump from Raymond James Stadium.
Yeah, it's like
The
right across.
Yankees, yeah, the
I've
Yankees
noticed
play and yeah, the Yankees play in spring training. They play in downtown Tampa, and when they play the Rays, it's like Yankee Stadium. It's like Yankee Stadium South, and their stadium is so close to the other teams in the division, their spring training facilities that they have no home field, and they had just announced that they're going to build a new stadium there by I think it's 2028 if I'm not mistaken. But the problem is it's still in the same bad area. They need to put a stadium. Find a way. You obviously know how the city's mapped out better than I have. I've been around Tampa, never been to it. But it needs to be in the downtown Tampa area, in like that hub, not on the outskirts of St. Petersburg, where it's kind of where it's forgotten about, and it's hurt their attendance there tremendously. Did you go to the Buccaneers Super Bowl parade?
I did not. No. But I know Tom Brady threw the freaking Lombardi from
Yeah,
boat to
yeah,
boat. And
yeah, he
that
did.
was scary.
Did you so what was the feeling like around the city his final year there? Because that obviously ended up being the year that he had problems with his marriage. The Bucks went 8-9. They weren't very good. It was just a hellish final season for the greatest quarterback of all time. It was like there rumblings around the city of like they kind of had a little bit of an inclination of what was going on in terms of Brady's personal life from what you could gather. Give me some intel on.
Yeah, I think the passion was definitely dwindling a bit there, and people knew that there's more happening. People were talking about what's happening behind the scenes more than what's happening on the field. At that point, it was the season was pretty much forgotten. The only thing that was remembered is all the things going on between him and his ex-wife now. So Yeah, not a great year there, but I think that people were still so high on that previous. Tom comes to Tampa Bay and brings home a Super Bowl. That that's still what people were talking about. Either
Right.
that or what's happening in his personal life at the moment. Not necessarily that they're having a bad year. Oh well, they won the Super Bowl last year.
Do you have any opinion on the divorce, the the rumors of Giselle cheating on him with the jiu-jitsu instructor? Did you see the roast that they had of him, by the way, on May the 5th? What's your thoughts on the off the field machinations with TV 12?
I honestly didn't follow it too hard. I don't. I mean, you telling me that the rumor is she had an affair. I hadn't even heard that until now. I just know the divorce. I know that they separated. And the roast. I know Tom regrets doing it, and I know I watched a couple clips of some really funny freaking pricks at him, and I can't even remember what they were, to be honest with you. But I remember laughing. That's for sure.
Do you let's get to something that you well before we get, because I got some hockey questions for you. I
Oh
know
boy.
because I'm ignorant with hockey. You can be the educator, not me, for a change. And obviously, you split time between Tampa and Detroit. And now all of us, it's like wherever city you live in, that's where their football teams are taking over the NFL landscape by storm, or even the college landscape for that matter. Because Michigan football, the defending national champions, they had the cheating scandal during the middle of their season, and then the Detroit Lions. They win their division. They win their first playoff game in over 30 years, and they go all the way to the NFC Championship game. Tell me how Michigan football and the Detroit Lions simply ruled the roost in the state of Michigan during last fall and into the winter.
Uh, Michigan definitely had a very talented team. I'm not gonna lie, I am a Michigan State fan, so
Yes, yeah,
I
I'm
but
aware.
I'm still much into college football. Still follow Michigan pretty well. Uh, as far as anyone who's not a Michigan fan, especially those who are Ohio State fans, think this cheating scandal should be what probably should bring them down, rescind the title, all this stuff. And what they did was against NCAA rules, but I question how many other teams are doing the same thing. The NCAA seems like a very pick and choose kind of thing. If they see it right in front of their eyes, they have to look into it. If they don't, they're not going to poke too hard into it.
Out of
So
sight, out of mind.
yeah, so I don't know. It's unfortunate that there is a scandal behind their national championship winning season. Do I think that it would have changed the outcome of the season? I I really don't think so. That team was very, very good. They went through Alabama in the semifinal, which I thought was going to be their were Dunzo Bunzo right there, and they managed to beat Alabama. So they won it, and they had a really good team. I hope Michigan State one day can be that team, but I think they're about forever away from it after everything that's happened in the Michigan State team over the last few years.
Yeah,
Um,
Mel Tucker.
so good for Michigan. That was a good earned title. It was a bit of a unrememberable championship game. I think the Michigan Alabama game was much better than the Michigan Washington game.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
uh, and then as far as the Lions go, how devastating to lose that
Yes,
NFC Championship game. Up,
yeah, that
I
sucked.
can't remember the exact score at halftime, but it was a lot, up a lot at half, and a couple just all respect to Dan Campbell, but just a couple ballsy plays, which is who he is. It's his identity on fourth
Hmm.
down, killed the game. Killed the game. You have the momentum, could score a field goal to just keep the momentum going. You go for the pass on a fourth and short, and your receiver drops it. Arguably should have caught it. Uh,
Look at professor. They're calling it step by step, game by yes. 4th and 2, 24-10 Detroit. 7:03 in the third quarter. He doesn't kick the field goal. Go ahead.
yep. And I guess that's Dan Campbell's identity to go for it, and arguably he had the play, and I can't remember what receiver it was dropped it. It was right
Josh
in his
Reynolds.
hands.
Yeah. Reynolds. Yep.
Um,
Drops it.
yeah, but
San
whatever,
Francisco. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess it I don't know. It shouldn't happen though when you're that level of receiver. But I guess that's a risk that you run. But yeah, should have kicked the field goal.
Absolutely. 24-7 at halftime. I mean, multiple decisions. It's just, oh my God. And the
Yeah,
thing that made it worse too is that literally everybody that wasn't a San Francisco 49er fan was rooting like hell. This is one of the oldest teams in the National Football League. They and the Cleveland Browns, the two oldest teams in the National Football League, to not play in a Super. Everybody was rooting for Detroit to go, including me. And it was watching them die a slow, painful death after jumping out 24-7. It just, I'm not a Detroit Lions fan, and looking back on it, it still bothers me.
hmm
What was the feeling like amongst the fan base? Was there a feeling of anguish and a feeling of being pissed off at Dan Campbell because he basically coached away a trip to the Super Bowl? Or was it, listen, he is who he is. We'll get back to the NFC Championship game next season. We're essentially the second best team in the NFC by default at this point. 2024, the Detroit Lions are going to win Super Bowl. What was the feeling like with the Lions faithful after that game, and even this summer heading into a new season?
Yeah, there was. I think my Facebook feed that night summed it up pretty well. It was a bit of a mix, but a lot of people were very questioning of Dan Campbell's calls, as they should be. But there were also a lot of people defending him. It was his identity. It was the team's identity. And there is also a bit of a feeling that that might have been the year, or this year, this Super Bowl this year, however you want to look at this past season, was the year. There were a lot of pieces that just came in place right almost out of nowhere. The previous season ended great, started terribly, ended great. And they kept pretty much everyone from that team,
Mhm.
and it just seemed like it was the year. I still think they're going to be good this year again, but there was something about it that just felt like that was the time for the Lions to break down every wall that has ever held them back before, that has held them to the basement so many years in a row. And it was that close, and just some every other coach in the NFL wouldn't have made the calls that Dan Campbell did in the second half of that game. There's 2 fourth down calls. I don't know. It's a weird feeling to me. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't know if they can go as far as they did last year. I really don't.
I th-
This
I
at
th-
least this year.
I think they will. NFC's not that strong. You can even make the argument they are the best team in the NFC because of this contract situations with Brandon Ayuk with the San Francisco 49ers. I think they'll make it back. And,
Yeah,
and I hope and pray to the Lord above that it is a Lions Bengals Super Bowl because damn it, that's the game that we all deserve. That's the game. The
right.
two
Well,
teams, the two oldest franchise, one of the two old. Well, the Bengals are like middle aged. Lions, one of the oldest teams in the National Football League, both of them who have never won the Super Bowl ever in their franchise's history. We need a Bengals Lions Super Bowl in New Orleans come this
I'm
February.
in. I'm in. We'll have to if it happens, we'll have to hit each other up, and whoever loses owes the other $100 or something, or, or something of the sort.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now your hockey team that's close and near and dear to your heart, the Detroit Red Wings. Educate my audience and me who wouldn't know a hockey puck from a hockey stick. What's the state of the Detroit Red Wings right now? And where's like the whole NHL landscape after who in the hell won the NBA championship, the NHL championship? The
Uh,
Florida Panthers.
Florida,
Yeah, it was
yes.
Florida Panthers. Yeah.
Yeah, I
What's
had to
the
think for a second.
what's the NHL offseason looking like as of right now, and particularly with your team? Have the Detroit Red Wings? I know the Pistons stink. What's the state of the Detroit Red Wings right now?
Uh, yeah, the Pistons definitely stink. The Red Wings. So this past season, very upsetting as Red Wings fans. They had enough points to make it in the playoffs for the first time in 7 years, I believe, but they lost to a tiebreaker. And the
Oh wow.
tiebreaker isn't wins; it's overtime or regulation wins. So in the NHL, it's you have your 3 20-minute periods. If you're tied, you go to a 5 minute sudden death overtime. Or no, I'm wrong. It's regulation wins is the first tiebreaker. It used
Hmm.
to be overtime or regulation. So you have your normal game time, 60 minutes. You have a 5 minute sudden death overtime. If it's still tied, you go into a shootout. So the Red Wings won a lot in overtime and in the shootout. So they had more wins than the Washington Capitals overall, but the tiebreaker is regulation time wins, and the Capitals had, I think, one more win than them. So they had the same amount of points, lose to a tiebreaker. Washington Capitals got swept by the Rangers in the first round. They were a terrible team. Their goal differential for the year was like negative 30, meaning that despite their record, they still let in a ton of goals. They didn't even have a positive goal differential. But, anyways, I digress. The Florida Panthers are the Stanley Cup champions, and they were the best team. I thought they'd sweep the Oilers. They went up 3-0 in the series. It was almost identical to how the NBA finals started
Right.
there. Both teams were sweeping them. They both happened at the same time. And it felt like both leagues are just going to have duds of playoff series. And arguably the NBA's, it went back to Boston before they won it, but um, it was still only a 5 game series. And then
Hmm.
somehow, though, for the NHL's finals, the Oilers won 3 in a row to go to a game 7, and game 7 was a 2-1 game for the Panthers. Crazy little series there. But arguably going into this next season, the Florida Panthers are still a very strong team. Bruins, another strong team. Colorado's always good. The Red Wings, I'm a little worried that they didn't really get much better this offseason. They had to trade some players for cap space, and a couple, or especially one of the players, were one of their better defensemen. And I don't like their defensive situation still. They have a ton of goalies now, which hopefully will help, but their defense situation is struggling. But hopefully they can make it to the playoffs. I trust Steve Yzerman. Steve Yzerman, great hockey player, and I think he's still a great GM. He's pretty much the reason why the Lightning were so good in 20 and 21 and that whole stretch there. And really, arguably, the Lightning are still good. But Yzerman was a GM there before he came to Detroit. So
So
NHL's, it's an entertaining offseason.
so outside of obviously the defending champions, who do you think is a juggernaut to win the Stanley Cup heading into the new season?
So the team that had the biggest offseason this year is the Nashville Predators. They went after a couple huge free agents. The former captain of the Tampa Bay Lightning, Steven Stamkos. You might even recognize that name. He's now on Nashville. Tampa couldn't offer him enough money. Nashville did. They also got, I can't even say his name, Marcia Salt from the Vegas Golden Knights, who's another top top line player. They have a great goalie, one of the best in the league, a good goalie, or at least a goalie that goes on a hot streak at the right time is becoming, I think, a huge deciding factor in the outcome of your season in the NHL and the playoffs in the NHL. A hot goalie does it a lot. You think of Tampa when they won, they had Vasilevsky, who's arguably probably the best goalie of this generation or the most recent generation of NHL players. And then as far as juggernauts for this coming season, I think Nashville's going to be pretty good. I think Boston's going to be good again. I think Florida's going to be very good. And out of the West Coast, Vancouver arguably is still a very good team. They did really well last year as a young team. It could lead to a letdown this year, though, but they should do very well again. Colorado's still stacked. And Vegas, again, Vegas, their cap circumventers, the thing they can do. I don't know if they can do this in the NBA, or at least, or even the NFL, any sport with a salary cap, which are those three. But in the NHL, if you put someone on long-term injury reserve during the regular season, their cap hit doesn't count against the cap. And then if they suddenly get better for the playoffs, they can now play on your team along with everyone else you signed with your space. You can go above the cap after the season ends.
Yeah, I don't think you can. I know in football you can't do it. NBA, I don't think you can either. I gotta look into that.
That's what Vegas has been doing heavily, especially this last year, which is why a lot of people don't root for Vegas. And not many teams really do that. The Lightning did it a little bit too, but I don't think to the extent that Vegas has. They've really stacked their team up, and their captain was the one that was on long-term injured reserve, and the general manager has a press conference like 3 weeks before the playoffs, and of course he's like, "Oh yeah, I think he might get better right, about 3 weeks, right when playoffs start." It's like,
that's convenient.
Yeah, but I think those are the one of those teams. The Oilers too. They're good, but I don't know. I question their well-roundedness. The biggest thing I think is different. I think, generally speaking, NBA and NHL are kind of similar. With, I guess you have 5 players playing on the court, or you have 5 players on each side playing on the ice. In the NBA, if you can just load, NBA players play so much longer than NHL players as far as time on court or on ice. You kind of stack up 5 in the NBA, or at least have a few of those your main 5 be superstars. You're a super team, Whereas in the NHL, you really need to be well rounded. And the Edmonton Oilers, I think, are more like an NBA team stacked. They have very good high up, but not so good
top heavy roster. Heavy roster. Yeah, it gets them in trouble. And even with the NBA, and you've kind of, even with the NBA, you've seen that in recent times, but more so the NBA is starting, you see kind of a shift in the tide of how teams build rosters. The Boston Celtics, what made them so dominant is that they had a very deep roster. You could count on Pritchard, and you can count on Pritchard coming off that. I mean, I think they said like an NBA record, and I'm not in the NBA mode. I recited it when I was talking NBA playoffs and the finals during the spring. But they have nothing but 3-point shooters up and down the roster, from Brown and Tatum to Derek White and Porzingis, and then even the guys, Pritchard and others coming off the bench. They had a very deep roster, especially in terms of what they can provide offensively with offensive production. Jrue Holiday, one of the best defensive guards in the NBA, if not, in my opinion, the best all-around defensive guard in the NBA, that when you have him on your team, he can literally be a difference between winning a championship or going home, in the conference finals. Even he has a 3-ball that needs to be taken into account when you talk about game planning against the Boston Celtics. So, they have a very deep roster. The Knicks over this past basketball season, not as deep as Boston, but they had a lot of major contributions coming off the bench with them. But yeah, it's the top heavy roster typically is what you want to avoid. Even, baseball, like my team, the Orioles, they are very deep with their position players in terms of the talent they have, whether it be, they got 2 all-star first. They got two all-star, or at least in terms of their talent, two all-star caliber first basemen, Ryan O'Hearn, who bats left-handed, Ryan Mountcastle, who bats right-handed. Both of those guys can hit over 20, 25 home runs in their sleep, who are a walking, 270, 275 hitter that would scare the hell out of you if you're an opposing pitcher. They get the Orioles deep outfield. I mean, the Orioles have. I mean, I can read it to you right now. The Orioles have more guys on their roster that have more than doubled, that have more 10 or more home runs for them on the season than any team in Major League Baseball. Jackson Holly, their 20-year-old phenom, who they called up again for the second time this season. This guy has 4 home runs in his last 6 or 7 games. The other juggernauts that have been there for all, the Rutschmans, the Gunnar Hendersons, the Ryan Mountcastle, combined, they have 4 home runs in that time. Jackson Holiday's 20 years old, can't even legally buy a drink yet, and he's slugging the ball left and right. So it's like that's kind of a theme that you're starting to see in sports, regardless. I mean, the Orioles, they got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys, with 10 or more home runs. I mean, that's unheard of. So it's unheard of. So you see it a lot in sports, how important it is to have a roster that's very deep in terms of the talent that you have, because you got to account for injuries. You got to also account for, you're going to have games, or in the case of hockey, basketball, and baseball, you're going to have playoff series where your best player, for whatever the reason, is not playing up to their potential, whether it's by fatigue or it's just the nature of the game. You got to have guys on your roster that can pick up the slack. Well, it's the day of the closing ceremonies in the Olympics at the time of the day of this recording. You into the Olympics at all? Have you seen any of the Olympics? What's been your feedback of the 2024 Summer Games?
Yeah, I haven't watched any of it. I was eating lunch yesterday, and I saw the gold medal basketball game on the TV. I glanced at it a few times. That's about my extent of watching the Olympics. I don't know. I just can't get in. I'm not into it. I guess I'm happy to whenever a USA team wins. I mean, it's my country, so obviously, like to see us win. And it seems that the USA has done really well. The men's basketball team won the gold. I'm pretty sure a couple of the running athletes in women's and men's set new Olympic records. So, good for them. They're incredible athletes. And I hate to sound like a douche to them. I don't care what you're doing, but I don't know. I just don't watch it really.
You into the when the Winter Olympics come around? Are you into? I think they stopped doing it, but when hockey was a part of the Winter Olympics, would you get into that in the middle of the hockey season, or did you kind of, use that opportunity to kind of tune out in the midst of the NHL regular season?
Yeah, I think I'm not. It's interesting you bring that up because I'm not sure if it's they got rid of it or the NHL doesn't allow their
Yeah,
players
that's what it is. The
to compete in
NHL
it.
doesn't allow their players to compete in it. That's
Yeah,
what.
at least the last few years, the last Olympics I remember was in the gold medal game, Canada versus the US overtime game, and Sidney Crosby for Canada sneaks in one past Ryan Miller in overtime to win the gold. I mean, it's arguably always been Canada's sport, but I mean, Canada, Russia, and the U.S. I guess are the big ones now. But it's good to see the U.S. does have a lot of great players now that can compete. I don't know if the NHL has changed their mind on it or not, but if it's NHL players competing in it, I'm watching it for sure. It's the best of the best from every country. So yeah, definitely.
What hockey arenas have you been to? NHL hockey arenas have you been to?
I think I've actually only been to Well, Joe Louis in Detroit back in the day. That's an apartment complex now. And then Little Caesars Arena, their new arena, which is also where the Pistons play. Watch Columbus Blue Jackets at Nationwide before, and then the Tampa Bay Lightning at Amalie Arena in Tampa. Did I go to Staples Center? No. Oh yeah, I went to T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. I went to a Vegas Knights game this last year. After I talked about what a cheating team they are, I actually went and cheered for them not too long ago. This fall.
Do you enjoy going to football games more, hockey game? Like, what's your favorite sport to attend? Not to watch on TV, but to attend live.
Right. Yeah. I might be a bit biased. I went to this actually happened after we talked last time. I went to Game 5 of the 2021 Stanley Cup Finals at Tampa. When Tampa played Montreal for the Stanley Cup and they won it. That was where they won the Stanley Cup, and I got to watch. I spent a bit of money to take me and my dad to second row seats, from the glass, and we get to see the Stanley Cup lifted. And I guess I spent that money making a bet that I bet Tampa's going to win, and we're going to get to see it. It's going to make it worth it, and it did. That was arguably the best sports experience I may ever watch in my life. To see the Stanley Cup being won. I mean, you think, it is like going to a Super Bowl and seeing your team win it. Granted, the Detroit Red Wings are my first team. Tampa's always been my second team. It was really cool to see them win it. The only way it would ever get better is if I watch the Detroit Red Wings win the Stanley Cup, in my opinion. I went to a Buccaneers preseason game last year. Not the most exciting thing in the world, but it was preseason. A playoff game would be much better. I need to get to an NFL playoff game. And then it's been a few years since I went to a Michigan State game for football, but that was fun. It was fun tailgating and going to it. But it was late October, mid-October in Michigan, going to a football game. It was a little
cold.
Little cool. I don't know. It was the weather's not the greatest. So overall, I gotta say a Stanley Cup final game was the best best stadium atmosphere I've ever been to.
Do you bet on sports at all? Do you place parlays?
Not really. A couple of my buddies are big into it. I'm a gambler, don't get me wrong. Like when I told you my buddy was up here the last few days, I've had to postpone coming on and talking to you for a few days because he stayed a little longer. We were at the casino like 95% of the time. So I don't know. I don't like how normalized gambling is becoming because it's very lopsided. It's advertised to you as you can make a bunch of money. You can't. It's so unfair. It's unreal.
House always wins.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous. I have a couple buddies that sports bet and tell me some sports bets, and sometimes I'll make them. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose. I'm like even on sports bets. But I make one a year, I made some bad ones and made some good ones. I'm like, even I only do it if I'm hanging out with them heavily and they're like, dude, you should just put some money on this. Like I I was making bets during the Super Bowl, just because my buddy is a big sports bettor that I was watching it with. I wouldn't ever put a lot of money on it or anything. What about you, man? You into sports betting at all, or?
Well, I give you a few of. You know what? I got a story for you. So it's second round NFL playoffs, divisional round. It's Bills and Chiefs up in Orchard Park. Gotta get my play-by-play sheet because I write down here it is. It's 27-24 Kansas City. 1st and 10, Buffalo's ball, 8:17 left in the fourth quarter. Josh Allen drops back the pass, finds Stephon Diggs 10 yards behind his man. Josh Allen, one of the best arms in the National Football League, throws it to Stephon Diggs, hits him square in his hands, drops it. I mean, and this is like this is one of those moments. And Stephon Diggs, one of the best wide receivers in the National Football League, one of the more short-handed ones. But it was one of those drops where it's like, oh hell, Buffalo's fitting to lose this game. If they catch that, let me put proper context in relevance to the game first, then I get to my parlay. If he catches it, it's 1st and 10, Buffalo's ball on Kansas City's side of the field. They would have had the ball, I think, inside the red zone, if I'm not mistaken, and would have had an opportunity to milk the clock till about maybe 2 minutes left, and it would have had the lead, daring Mahomes to score a touchdown to win the game. Instead, he drops the pass. They do get to the opposite side of the 50, but they got to kick a field goal. Tyler Bass misses it wide right. Buffalo season ends. Now, in relevance to me, I had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 leg parlay with a $25 bonus bet from DraftKings. It would have paid out the $325. I had Patrick Mahomes plus 200 passing yards, which hit. I had Travis Kelce 50 receiving yards, hit. I had Isaiah Pacheco 50 rushing yards, that hit. I had James Cook 50 rushing yards. He the Bills running back, that hit. Isaiah Pacheco anytime touchdown, that hit. Josh Allen anytime touchdown, that hit. Josh Allen plus 200 alternate passing yards. If Diggs catches that pass, I win $325. Josh Allen's passing yards for the game. Give me a minute to look it up. His passing yards for the game, shy of 200. I think he finished with like 190 or something like that. That one was a killer. I also had a 1, 2, 3, 4 leg parlay, 76ers and Celtics regular season. This is like back in April, I think. Jason Tatum over 26 points and a half. That hit. He had 28. I had Jason Tatum 5 and more assists. That hit. Al Horford over 6.5 points. He had 8 at the time. Or no, he had 8. That hit. Jason Tatum over 3.5 3-pointers. He had 1. Celtics won the game 114-95. He sat the last 3 minutes of the game. Those two were killers. So I try to I don't do it every day, and I did it a lot during not a lot, but obviously DraftKings, they say, hey, here's some bonus bets, $25. See if you can parlay it into winning some cash. So during the NFL playoffs, I did it a lot. NBA playoffs, I made a bet in early February for the New York Knicks to win the NBA championship. They came so close to making the conference finals. That one didn't hit. By the way, Josh Allen, the passing yards he had for the game, I'm pull it up right now. Josh Allen, the Bills quarterback, finished with 186 passing yards. That was about a 50-yard pass play. Diggs catches that. I'm $325 richer. So I don't do it often, and I don't do it like every day. And another thing I do is that I try not to bet my team, especially now because I got 2 championship contenders. Yet they still find a way to piss me off. So I don't bet my team even to win. I don't do it. What I do sometimes that's kind of like a backdoor is that I'll pick a player on my team in terms of like a prop bet. So like I'll do a parlay where I'll like last Wednesday, not this Wednesday, but the 7th of August. I picked Anthony Santander, plays for the Orioles. James McCann, catcher, plays for. I picked them to hit a home run in a parlay with Jazz Chisholm of the New York Yankees. I have like a 2-hit day. So I'll do that. And prior to the baseball season, I bet Gunnar Henderson plus 1,500 to win American League MVP to pay out to $375. And obviously, I won't have the results of that until November. But I try to monitor it the best I can. They say don't bet more than you can afford to lose. So it's like, $2, 50 cents, $5. The only time I bet essentially more than $5 essentially is when if it's like a bonus bet given to me by DraftKings.
Yeah.
But I, like everybody else, I don't win. So it is what
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. That's gambling in a nutshell.
Absolutely. What are some of your goals still in store for Wii Sports in terms of your channel? I know you accomplished finally getting all platinum, which cost you a television. You got all platinum for tennis in terms of the challenges within that game. What's the challenges still left to be conquered for
I
you on Wii Sports?
On Wii Sports, it's I still have 3 of the platinums to go, and then I have all 15, and then I don't know what really to go for on Wii Sports anymore. I will likely go on to Wii Sports Resort and go after all stamps. It's kind of like the platinums, there's certain things you have to do within each sport. It's not in a training game section or anything like the platinums are in Wii Sports. It's in the actual category, like basketball, for example, which is the best sport on Wii Sports Resort. 3-point contest will have, I think, 5 stamps to collect. One of them is a perfect game, plus you have to do it within a certain time frame in order
Mm-hmm.
to get the enough bonus points, because that you get the perfect 30 points, plus you get a point bonus based on how much time you have left. So yeah, I have to do that again with the time constraint. And then there's other ones in the actual pickup game, like you have to get a buzzer beater to win. You have to win by a certain amount, I think. And I think another one is beating Tommy. So I'll probably go through all that again and
Your
on every
nemesis.
sport. So that one I think is going to take even longer. So it's probably going to be a long Wii Sports Resort binge after Wii Sports. And
You
then, yeah.
No, I was going to say, you still keep that energy up for when it comes time for you to record. Is there times where you look at it as like a job where you don't want to do it? Does it get stale? Tell me how your energy sometimes towards work is on a day in day out basis.
Yeah, just some things I dread doing. To be honest, I'm in one of those things right now. Boxing on Wii Sports. I hate that sport. I hate it. I don't like boxing in Wii Sports. It's fun like the first time playing through, like, you beat all these people and you get to mat and you beat them up. It's really not that hard, so it's kind of fun. But getting these platinums is like very repetitive, like this in you're asking for the motion controls to work along with you. You need to do very well and do it a very specific way in order to get it. And I can't seem to do it right. I just spent however long on my most recent video playing boxing, just hitting a freaking bag for hours to not even get
Right.
the platinum. It makes me so mad. I just dread it. It makes for decent content though, and I still have the energy because my energy is just anger. Which I don't like
All
to
right.
be just angry all the time though. I like to have a little bit of positivity and not positivity maybe, but just excitement about it. But I don't.
Mhm. No, listen. It's understandable. Sometimes you kind of have to turn into Billy Bass in order for you to lock in and get a job done. I totally
Right.
understand it. I get that. And it's good that I have you on because you're more of you're born in the mid late '90s, so you're more of a zennial more so than you are, one of them old ass millennials born in the '80s. So yeah, this would be perfect. And plus, I haven't had the opportunity to address it on my show because sometimes I like to talk about things that I've seen and observed that aren't necessarily sports related. Keep it fresh, keep me into it. And all I have to do is just give commentary. I don't have to, study, the games when I watch them and make notes like I do during the football season. Don't get me wrong, I love doing it. And matter of fact, let me show you. These are because you're gonna flip. These are the notes that I have during the football season. That's actually my show sheet. A little bit of a spoiler. So, for instance, for the Lions and 49ers championship game, this is the notes. This is the notes that I got for literally just the game and that's every in regular season. And regular season is worse because I got to watch all the games, even if the games I didn't see a lot of live, and there's some storylines and something major happened during the game. I have to go back on typically Monday and early Tuesday morning. I'm like a coach. I got to go back, got to watch film, make notes. This is what happened. This is what happened. This is what occurred wrong. This, and this. So don't get me wrong. It's a little time consuming. So I like to branch out and talk about things. Instead that aren't sports related. I say all that to lead up to this. What were your thoughts on the iCarly reboot? Now, I took advantage of a free trial of Paramount Plus, and that ended in early June. So I finished the first season. I'm a third through season 2. And obviously, because what I saw on Twitter last summer, that obviously it gets better in season 3. It was like a Sopranos-esque cliffhanger there at the end. What were your thoughts on the reboot? Because at least so far, I have not been impressed. I'll let you sound off first, but I have not been impressed to start.
No, it's unfortunate that Jeanette didn't come back to play Sam. But that already made it feel like, okay, this is different. It isn't what it once was. And then I was into it. It's been a while now. It's been a couple years at least since I watched it. I believe I watched all of the first season and the second season. I don't think I even watched the third season because I don't know. I lost interest. I mean, I love Miranda, but that's that's about all I can say about it. I don't know. It was rather unmemorable. What I've been watching a lot lately is South Park and what else? I love the Austin Powers movies, man. I watched those 15 bajillion times over the last few years for some reason. I really don't watch much else. I'll watch some Family Guy too, the older seasons. But that iCarly reboot, I just
go specific. What about it particularly didn't you like?
I don't know. I think part of it is it's so hard to recreate something special. I loved iCarly as a kid. I'm now 20 some, I'm 29 now, but I was 26, 27 watching the reboot. It just, I don't know. It just didn't spark. I don't know what it is about it that really made me not like it. I'd rather watch a normal adult comedy. I mean, it was kind of cool to hear them swear sometimes and stuff like that. But I feel they could have pushed it a little harder and been a little bit more. Okay, I don't know. Unfortunately, I have the memory of something bad. I don't really even remember many specific moments. I watched the whole 2 first seasons, and I can't even tell you one thing that they did. To be honest with you, I can't remember anything.
Well, let me refresh your memory. I've not been impressed. First off, do we need Harper? Seriously. And I understand what I'm trying to do. And as somebody that's the same race as Harper, I can appreciate the idea of being inclusive with my people. But can it be natural? Good luck, Charlie. It felt natural that Teddy and PJ had black best friends. It felt natural that Gabe's first girlfriend was black. With this, it does not feel natural. With this, it feels like, let me take your stereotypical obnoxious, uh, obnoxious early 20s black female and shoehorn her into the show to check off a box. I don't want to. I don't want to look at it from a perspective of having a box checked out because there's like a certain feel that you got with the show and with the characters, and then here's like Harper coming out of left field, and it's like, you know what it is. It's like having a nice, a nice gourmet meal at a sit down restaurant, and then out of the clear blue sky, when somebody comes over to bring along, a side dish, it's the hot dog guy from the ballpark that throws baked beans and sloppy Joe onto your plate. Like, I don't need that. I don't want that. So it's
Right.
like she just did not fit. And there's just some lines that she had in the show, like when she said them and how she delivered them. I rolled my eyes to the back of my head. It's like, oh my God, really? It's the best you can come up with. And there are so many empty episodes that have no like substance to the overall plot. And then Freddy is just this sad, pathetic beta male simp of a joke at 20 something years. I wanted to freaking cry. I mean, this guy still can't is this guy is still hung up on Carly after all these years. And then to make it worse, he has some adult not some adult, but has some, outside adoptive kid, that clearly does not look like Freddie as well. It's like, what are we doing? And I am for one, and I grew up on I understand his name's taboo now, but I grew up on the Cosby Show, and in season 6, one of the elder children of the Huxtable family, Denise, she goes off to Africa at the end of season 5, gets married, comes back season 6. She ended up eloping over in Africa. She marries this Navy lieutenant who has a kid from her previous marriage, played by Raven Simone, a name who you recognize, played by Raven Simone. But the thing that made it, she was on the show from season 6 through the final season of season 8. But the thing that made her character work was that she was a perfect foil to Bill Cosby's character, Cliff Huxtable. They were witty, they were funny, they had like a bit of an endearing element, like having like a smart ass attitude. They were very not mouthy, but they were quick with they were quick with the tongue. They thought alike. Their actions, their mischievous behavior, they mirrored off of one another, which made it work. You had a grown man, doctor, patriarch of the family, having similar character traits to a 3, 4, 5-year-old, step granddaughter of his who, years prior he never even knew existed. So like, if that element, it worked. With the iCarly reboot, it's like they're trying to find their Olivia Kendall, so that's her character's name, their version of Olivia Kendall, and they're trying to shoehorn it into the show, because that's what it feels like. It feels like that they're trying to find the next Raven Simone, Olivia Kendall character that was to the Cosby Show to this show, and it just does not. It's like, you are a little kid. Like, why do you have so much attitude and your ego? It's like, no, like when you saw it the first time in the early '90s, it was funny. It was compelling. Television in 2020s, it's like, no, I get pissed off to the point. It's like, if I had that mouth towards my parents at your age, my ass would be plastered up against the wall somewhere. So it just does not work. It doesn't work. Shoehorning in characters that nobody asked for, feeling the need to be pandered to, I don't like and appreciate either. And then too many empty episodes that have no inclination to the overall plot of the show whatsoever. It's just, I try and I'm watching it and I'm like, I'm saying to myself like, Lloyd, I'm trying to stick it out and make it through this show because I know that obviously the deeper you get into it, eventually it's going to be worth your while. But it's like, as I said to myself, I don't know if I can make it through this. This
Right.
is just some bad television. I mean, the
Yeah.
only part that you kind of have still to hang on to, and it does miss Sam, her character, 100%. The only thing you really have to look to grab a hold on to is Spencer, because his character is like, the guy looks like he hasn't aged in 15 years, and his character is still like as fresh and as funny as it was in the original. But outside of that, it's it.
Yeah. He has really good genes. That's for sure. But yeah, as I said, I didn't make it through it, and it's been a couple years, and I forgot nothing memorable happened. It's
Right.
making it click to me that clearly it wasn't very good because there's nothing I even bothered remembering in this. I have a big head, dude. I didn't remember anything from the
Right.
show, and I watched it.
Right, and Carly and the machinations, and the mental gymnastics of Carly still holding Freddie emotionally hostage. It's like, Lord, can we? As my hat falls into my trash can, very symbolic of how things with the Orioles are going right now. But I got my Allen Iverson look is all messed up. That's why I have a hat on. But it's like how many times you have to go through the same roller coaster on and on and on, and it's like you want to yell to Freddie. It's like, bro, I get it. I've been there. In your teenage and your adolescent years, and there's a girl that you associate yourself with that checks all the boxes and is everything you ever wanted and dreamed for in a girl, and as you get older, a woman. But you gotta let it go. I had that epiphany 5 or so years ago. You gotta let it go. Leave the past in the past. Bury it dead, like Bill Belichick. Dig a ditch, take the football, put it in the hole, pat it down. The game is dead, buried, finished, through, kaput, finito, over. And it's like, Fredward, there's women outnumber men in the world. There's more of them than there are of you. Put it to bed and move on. Oh my gosh, almighty, enough.
Yeah.
And another bad reboot too. Talking about waste of time. The Zoe 102 movie, one of the worst movies I've ever seen in the history of the universe. That is
I didn't
by
hear
looking
this.
at Facebook. You haven't seen it?
No, I haven't even heard of this.
I don't
I
want
need to
to
watch
say do
that. You're
yourself a
definitely watching
favor.
that after this, man.
Yeah, I won't say it's on Paramount Plus as well. I won't say
Okay,
do
perfect.
yourself a favor because it's not any good. But if you want to basically cringe for 90 minutes to 2 hours, watch that movie. Oh
Okay.
it's just bad, bad.
Yeah.
If you want to watch a train wreck with characters you remember from damn near 20 years ago, go ahead and knock yourself out.
Is this still
That's
Jamie Lynn Spears in it?
yes.
Really? Oh wow.
And
Okay.
and God has not been kind to her in terms.
Oh,
I'm just listen,
no, I feel
listen.
like I gotta watch it now. I mean,
All
I mean, you can't look away from freaking car crashes, right?
all due respect. She shot. All the she. It's. I mean,
Yeah.
good lord, my good. Anyway, I digress. But have you seen that movie or that docu series, Quiet on the Set? And have you heard the rumblings and not the rumblings, but the news and the personal memoirs, I guess, so to speak, on Dan Snyder and everything that went on with Nickelodeon during the 2000s? And what's your reaction?
Yeah,
Such,
I mean, I mean, back in the day, we were all kids. The shows just seemed innocently funny, but with what has came out about Dan, it adds up. you look at a lot of scenes differently that even were in the scripts of the show, especially about feet. Very
Yeah,
strange.
very.
I'm not a foot person myself, but
Yeah,
that it's very strange and definitely makes sense. It helps back it up that there was some pretty inappropriate behavior coming from Dan Snyder back in the
right.
day. But it's crazy to think that he ran Nickelodeon back then. Every good show from Nickelodeon had Dan Snyder on it in some way, shape, or form. Drake and
Mm-hmm.
Josh, iCarly, Zoe 101, I'm pretty sure too. What's the other one that I'm forgetting that came after? Victorious. Uh,
Victorious.
everything. I mean, he even I think he was on all that, in a minor role back in the day. The Amanda Bynes show, everything he was a part of. It just sucks that someone like that, as was a part of these shows and really affected these kids' lives in ways that shouldn't have been.
Right.
It's messed up. I don't know. Has anything like criminally happened to Dan Snyder? Is Dan Snyder still just Dan Snyder?
A
I don't
free
think he's
man,
associated with Nickelodeon anymore.
unfortunately. Yeah, I think he's. Unfortunately, he's still a free man. I don't know
Yeah,
how. I don't
there
know
hasn't
why,
been.
but he
I'm
is.
yeah, I'm surprised that nothing has been charged on him, at least to some degree, because I think that those are there's serious allegations that seem very credible. So I don't know why they wouldn't be at least investigated to some sort and something come of it.
Makes absolutely no sense. It's just, and I've been putting off watching it because of how the detail that it's in, and I say, and
Mhm.
because I know, and I say to myself, because if you watch this, you might not look at some of your shows, if not episodes within the shows, the same again. So
Right.
it's
It ruins
yeah,
it essentially. But full disclosure, I've only seen clips of some of the more damning things though on Twitter and mainly Twitter. So I mean I haven't watched it, but well aware of the allegations made. But I really should watch it to get the full detail. But at the same time, I don't know. I think I know enough. It's fucked up. Or frick. Ah, shit.
you
Messed up.
can relax. You can no, you can you're fine. Again, we've matured over the last few years. We've matured. And by the way, what's the because I never asked you these questions when I had you on the first time. What network had the better assortment of shows? Disney Channel or Nickelodeon?
Nickelodeon. I'm a Nickelodeon kid. I rarely watch Disney Channel. Honestly, I might dare say I never watched any of the Disney Channel shows. I never watched Sweet Life of Zach and Cody. I never watched Sweet Life on Deck, any That's So Raven, or any of those Disney shows. I never watched them. I was all Nickelodeon or Cartoon Network. I'd watch, Chowder was one of my favorite cartoons. SpongeBob, obviously. Ed and Eddie. Frick. What else? Courage the Cowardly Dog. Um, Codename Kids Next Door. I was more of a cartoon watcher. Not until Drake and Josh and iCarly did I really get into the what do you even call them? Kids
Sitcoms, kids
sitcoms. Yeah.
sitcoms. Yeah, yep,
Yeah.
that's exactly what it was. What's the best, or should I say the greatest Nickelodeon sitcom of all time?
Drake and Josh. Drake and Josh is king. I think. I used to
I
watch,
call
all that, but I was a little younger then. I was very young then. All that was more late 90s. But uh yeah, that was a good show. Amanda Bynes show I watched too, but Drake and Josh is too many memories from that show. iCarly is very close behind it, but I think
over
Drake and
Victorious.
Victorious was kind of hitting its stride when I was kind of done with watching those kinds of shows. I just don't remember watching Victorious very often. I watched a little bit of Zoe 101, but not much. Come to think about it, Drake and Josh, Victorious, I Jamie Zoe 101. iCarly, girl-centered characters. I wonder if they did research like girls sent like who I would imagine boys watch Nickelodeon more than girls. So I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud right
Possible,
now. I just noticed that
possible.
that most of these big shows had a girl as a star,
As the
but
protagonist, yeah.
or Dan Snyder, one of the two.
That Dan Snyder.
Yeah,
You're probably more accurate with that assessment. Yeah,
right,
that's probably a Dan Snyder
right.
call. Looking back,
But yeah, that's just me thinking out loud as I'm thinking about all these shows right now. Uh, yeah, I'd go Drake and Josh. Though. Yeah. Short answer.
that's not a problem. Have you paid any attention to this Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef at all? And you have any thoughts?
No, I my friends talk about it to me, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I listen to both of their music, but I know that Kendrick kind of went off on Drake about perhaps some inappropriate relationships with minors. I don't know what if it's
Hmm.
valid or if it's just him throwing Drake under the bus because Drake threw him under the bus. But I don't even know. I don't know the beef, really, the details. I just hear it from what my friends say. And then you have Drake uh exposed not too long ago. And yeah, that's always a running joke with my friends too. But yeah, I don't follow it too much.
They're not like us. Wop 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 wop. Oh, fucking well. Wop, wop. At that, because within my group, I'm normally in my family, I'm normally the one that's Mr. Late to the party, Mr. Old Man trapped inside a 22-year-old's body. But that song has been on a loop for me, particularly when I work out. You get an excellent workout in when listening to that song. More so when you lift rather than on the treadmill. You get a good lift in. Highly recommend. Um, 29 years old. We Is there any girlfriend on the outside or on the inside? What's
I
is
I'm
is there a
still
Mrs.
single to this
Profession?
day. Miranda Cosgrove has never replied to any of my comments or messages, unfortunately. I got nothing going, to be honest with you. Some of my family members always try to set me up with some new girl, and I I don't know, man. They just don't seem like the right ones for me, so I just stay single. I'm in no rush, really. I don't know. I got a bottle of lotion in my in my bathroom that comes
My
out
God.
sometimes, but that's probably a little bit of TMI. But yeah, no, that's no, I don't. I'm single. That's the short answer again. I need to stop going on when the short answer is I'm single because I say stuff like I got a bottle of lotion in my bathroom, and then I just got to shut my mouth.
Well, let me see if I can maybe possibly help your chances. We looking for 30 and up, or we looking from 25 through 30s?
Yeah, I would.
Your
I would.
height of preference. Let's see if
Shorter
I
than
can
me.
help you out here.
I'm not gonna lie. I wouldn't, not to get too much in detail, but the preferred range is usually five below, five above, and then as far as age range, and then honestly, shorter, smaller is better. And I don't want to say that not crazy tiny or anything like that, but petite, I guess is the proper word. Um, and I don't know, it has to be the right personality too. I wouldn't know right off the bat. I got to talk to them and get to know them a little bit. But there's a ton of, you'd be surprised how many, not surprised, I don't know if it's the right word. I don't want to make you think I'm drowning in bitches in my DMs because I'm absolutely not. But there are some that message me from time to time, and but ultimately, though, Jai, uh, I just don't. I don't think I'm like afraid of commitment. I swear, I might be single my entire life. I don't know. At this point in my life, I like doing what I want when I want. I don't have any animals. I don't have any pets. I live alone. I essentially try to go wherever I want when I want. If I want to go do something, I do it. and having responsibility means you can't do those things, or you got to argue with those things,
I
or make
understand.
compromises with those things, whether it be a pet or a significant other, whatever it be. So I got to follow what makes me happy. There are some times where I'm like, well, it would be nice to have someone around to go on dates with, to do some adventures together, I guess, so to say. But other times I'm like, well, or I just don't, and I just keep doing what I want. I
I
don't know.
understand. That
How about
listen,
you?
that's a
You rocking the single life, or
yeah.
you got a girlfriend?
Well, no. Well, there's two things. One, they're hella. I would love to have one, but they're hella expensive. And sometimes, like I like to come and go as I please and don't have to worry about accounting for, you know, it sounds self-centered and selfish, but I don't. Sometimes I'm in a mood where I don't want to. I don't want to account for things other than me. If the Friday night in the middle of October or in the month of September, and the Orioles are playing either a playoff game or a game they need, for playoff qualification, I don't want to go out. I like spending my Friday nights home watching the game, or if they're in Baltimore, going to the game myself. And I'd have to, ask or answer to who struck John and why. Sundays, I don't, Sundays it's get up, uh, go or watch church, and then from 1 o'clock in the afternoon to a quarter to midnight, watch nothing but football from September through January. If during the spring when the NBA finals are on, watch the NBA playoff games throughout the day. With the Orioles mixed in, keep it moving after that. Thursday night, watch Thursday night football. I don't want to have to, worry about, going out date nights or that sort of stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, because I've been in the, been in the gym, making sure I get myself in better physical shape, put on muscle mass. I'll save the YouTube airwaves, but your boy has a 6-pack right now, not to brag on myself. And then listen, I understand. I'm 6'3", 6'3",
Damn.
cone body. So I understand that I am I'm charismatic, this, that, and the third. I got a sense of humor. So I understand that I am enticing to the free agents that are out there on the market. But at the same time, I know that what I want to do for a living and the trajectory that I'm trying to climb right now, not every single female that even slides to my DMs or smiles at me, gives me the time of day, is going to be worth my time and attention. I got to be very strategic and very precise. People say you're picking on. I'm not. I know what my value is, and I know that I cannot afford the opportunity to either bring about more mental trauma onto myself and/or waste my time, money, and attention, and all things along those lines and resources with just anybody. You got to be, especially at this point, because I'm 22 years of age. I got to make sure that I go about it at the right path where I don't fuck up and make a decision that could cost me, the rest of my life. But
Yeah.
because I was at work yesterday, and it's so unfair the amount of fine married women, especially ones with children, that exists today. Because there was one man that was at my place of business yesterday afternoon. Lord have mercy. It just she was absolutely sensational. To whoever her husband is, hit your knees and thank the good Lord that you come home to that every single night,
Yeah.
because it was. But say you get, the thing is with me, I can't, I'm no model, but I think I'm fairly handsome, whatever. I don't get hit on as much as you think I would. I just don't. Typically, that's my brother who introduced me to you and your channel. That's him. He's the one that gets, the women, they throw themselves at him. They don't throw themselves at me. My mother says it's because I can come across sometimes in public as very intimidating, because I walk around subconsciously with a resting bitch face, is what I've been told. My brother, on the other hand, he's more so the playboy, so girls throw themselves at him. Me, not so much. But but I got a very, in order for me to even think about anything becoming between me and a female, there's a list of qualifications. You gotta meet both personality wise and physically
Yeah.
before
I don't think there's
I
anything wrong
even.
with being picky. I think being picky is the right thing to do. Don't end up in a relationship that's only going to waste your time just to fall apart because there's always something that doesn't satisfy you because it might not satisfy them either, and it's just going to result in something that ends. And I mean, I guess it's not a waste of time. I mean, I'm sure there can be a lot of great memories together, but to me though, I'd rather not. um so I mean, I've never had anything that's lasted more than a couple months or a few months because
Okay.
I figure out pretty quickly if it's gonna work or not, and I just fade away if not, pretty much. It is what it is. But a part of it, I think, I don't know, is a bit of how my brain's made. I don't know if I like. There's something about being committed in that sense, in being around someone that much that I don't know.
No, it's
Probably
that
just because I haven't met
that
the right person, though, so I don't, I don't know.
yeah. The commitment doesn't scare me. I just know myself well enough to know that, like, for instance, my father was my age when he married my mother. I know that now certain things happened in his life I won't get into that kind of affected like his viewpoint on life in general. But I know with me, like I'm not getting married at 22 and then having my first kid at 24. Like that's worked for him. That's not me.
Yeah,
And I'm not scared of commitment or anything. It's just that I know that at this point myself right now in my life, I am not ready. And
right.
and to be honest, and you can kind of say it kind of sounds dogmatic in this approach, in this mindset, this philosophy, but I much rather be in my 20s and still, maybe not even have serious girlfriends, but have multiple women that I associate myself with. Here's a date Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and just coming and going as I please. I like that lifestyle appeals more to me, at least at in my 20s where I stand right now, more so than being committed to one and only. Maybe in 5, 10 years, 15 years that'll change. But as
Right.
of right now, if I were to associate myself with somebody, it wouldn't be a serious thing unless I was shown or proven otherwise. And plus with me, I kind of have a little bit of Jordan and Brady and me is they were girls that I wanted to possibly have the opportunity to bring along for the ride, and for one reason or another they weren't interested at that moment, in particular moment in time. So I said, you know what, all right, fine, can't sweat it. As James Brown said, you can't miss nothing you never had. Jay-Z, brush your dirt off your shoulders, use that to fuel your fire and to keep going, because there will be a time, and I know this because this is just how I am. I believe in myself and what I can do in this media industry. There will be a time where, and they know who they are, where they will be come knocking on my door, giving me the hey big head, and I'll be like, nah, see, because back in such and such a time when you had the opportunity to jump on this program, you want to know parts. Now all of a sudden, because you see my name plastered all over the internet, I'm on national television, calling games and everything, making bank, this, that, and the third. I'm on the cover of these magazines, People Magazine, vote me sexiest man alive. Now all of a sudden you want to jump on this bandwagon. We had an opportunity at the beginning, you want to know parts. Now all of a sudden, what you see, I got the bag and I accomplished this, that, and the third. Now it's like, no, that ain't that ain't how this works. So that's me. That's sort
Yeah.
of handing to Johnny Field personally. That's me. When you want to jump on a program, you want to know parts. Now all of a sudden, you can stay right there. You stay right there where you were, and you can watch this. Watch this journey of greatness from the sidelines. You don't get a VIP.
Yeah.
But you did a good job. You did a good job. Nice to have you on. Gave us a lot of insightful information, and let us not be another 4 years before we have you on again. Did a sensational
Yeah.
job.
I know, right? Let's make it a little shorter this time, and by a little,
Oh,
at least maybe a year shorter. We can reflect, or call me during the hockey season, peak hockey season, or
yes,
around yeah. Then we have
February,
could have
right after the Super Bowl, and
NFL
there's more to talk
playoffs.
about. Yes. Absolutely. Come February, in between the end of the Super Bowl and spring training and NCAA tournament, there's absolutely nothing in the world going on in sports. And say, hey, let's chop it up, do something different, talk hockey for a change. Your name will be the first one that comes up on my radar. The
Yes, sir.
great Professor, everybody. Check him out. Follow him on Twitter, Instagram at Professor. Subscribe to his YouTube channel as well as that shares that aforementioned name. Well, I want to thank him and thank y'all for tuning in for another episode of Yamatella Katiaya's podcast. Like what you heard, new to the program, please not hesitate to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads if y'all still use that. You still use Threads, Professor, or no? You
Never
still on
used
it?
Threads. Nah, I'm
Good.
good.
Yeah, you can follow me because I post on there from time to time at the J Shield. And until next time, peace. We are gone.